Count Your Small Blessings. Originally published as part of the South Wales Echo Christmas Story Competition on December 20th, 2013. Heading out the door that Christmas time, I thought I heard the barman call,
"Do not go gentle into that good night."
Though, with the breezy twilight and splot, it might also have been those banshees from my younger years wailing away on the wind. Once home, I listened to the distant voices of my dreams, whispering through my pillow as I drifted off to those countryside hills of my youth, where the snows always held firm at Christmas. Images emerged of tea and crumpets gathered round plum puddings on a table across from the busy cooker, fresh with the sense of Ma's currant buns baking. Ancient aunts and older uncles, with cousins of all ages joining conversations that spread out through the room, through the farmhouse and the town, from where the lilt of caroling choirs carried up on the wind.
Good King Wenceslas last looked out on the feast.
Narrowly avoiding a
Stephen.
crimbo cwtch under the mistletoe, I lit a candle in the window as the sun made its way from the day, and the streets lit up orange from lamps posted in the shallow valley I gazed on, down from the house on the hill. Now then, Mrs. Pritchard, otherwise known as the local radio station, arrived with news. Her chimney, unclean it would seem, decided the time was just right and cleansed itself early the previous night onto the carpet before it. With the fire brigade quickly called, the flames were slightly stalled by her husband's beating boot, mind you, only after grandmother was moved downstairs for easier evacuation if needed. Her emergency plan next involved calling in to a nearby neighbour for supplies, the prime question being, of course, how many sandwiches to prepare. For you can't have a fire with the brigade's sweat all worked up and have nothing to eat for their efforts. So crusts were trimmed whilst the kettle boiled, and soon enough the brigade promptly arrived, 35 minutes later, that being prompt in those little parts. They quashed what was left of the fire, so helmets came off and the sandwich trays along with teacups were passed around, and the brigade settled in till 3:30. With that tale told, Radio Pritchard was up and away, off into the crisp, starry evening, to tell more sagas to other neighbours in those brisk days when people would actually visit, instead of just quickly ringing in their Christmas greetings on a mobile. Another year, when I was much older, but still young enough not to know better, we headed out late on a chill St. Stephen's Day, bound for Fishguard Dock, and the night boat across the two-tongued sea for our Yuletide visit to Ma's family in rural Ireland. In those days, to get to that part of Tipperary, you just had to close one eye and turn left in the middle of nowhere. And though good health and joyful times made up those December Cayleys, on one trip I found certain items out of sorts, myself included. Soon all was revealed and quite righted when who did I find out front on the lawn but me, searching for hoofprints in the snow. With frost on my breath, I stumbled back into the world of the living, past trees long since bare, which through cold gusts glared. Once inside, my glass was filled again, and my brother appeared like a dream, having been gone since the night before. That next morning Ma had asked where he was, and my shameful reply was nothing but a guilty shrug. See, I told her, we had set out quite late, with quiet pints on our minds. He moved the curtain at the rear of the shop, and we stepped into the back bar. Ma listened intently, so I sipped tea before continuing. Things there, though, get hazy. But I think I'm quite sure that just maybe the great giant himself, Finn McCool, broke the bar stool beside me. And out in the night I was running over hills on through fields, or was I dreaming? The moon grinned at me a most terrible sneer and gave me over to the fairies, who carried me up, over treetops and barns that crafty hid snug of their circle. Fierce gales rode the winds with banshees howling, on up through the clouds, the sheen from their swords cut the night. Pulled by ghostly reindeer, they galloped on, their stagecoaches filled with hobgoblins growling. For that's the fate for those who would spoil fairy dancing. No harm meant to me, I joined in their spree, near naked, painted up with nothing but mud. Round fires we danced round and round, again and again, against the dark of the night, calling up the kings of Connaught for their kindness. Really, Ma interrupted, one eyebrow raised, pouring more tea. Sure you don't say. So I was quite pleased when my brother reappeared after my outside stumble, and we sang some old carols out of tune, making up one or two of our own for good measures. But doesn't time go on, and given that that particular Christmas was so unlike many others, I'm glad for the calm streets of Splot at this time of year. Away from the hustle and bustle of last-minute shopping around my big chair in Santa's grotto down Cardiff city centre, to a quiet pint here, by the old pot-bellied stove in the oak, now that the Vulcan is no more. Watching out the window as last-minute travellers zoom down Newport Road to their own warm fires and families. My work for the season is now done, with my red suit at the cleaners, awaiting pickup in a year. So I can sit back and relax, run my fingers through my long white beard while listening to Dylan Thomas as he wonders aloud about whether it snowed for 12 days and nights when he was 6, or 6 of the same when he was 12. I'll count my small blessings, raise a glass to those we've lost this past year, whilst wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.